KBC Channel 1 imeandaa vipindi spesheli katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan mwaka huu kwa ajili yako.
Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kando na ukumbi wa Kiislamu na hutuba ya Ijumaa, kutakuwa na makala yanayoangazia masuala ya funga, mawaidha,
whosoever witnesses the month of Ramadan, then he should fast.
Vipindi vya mapishi.
Katika mapishi ya Ramadhani tutatayarisha pilau ya korosho. Utahitaji viazi, vitunguu vinne vikubwa na zabibu
na kaswida mbalimbali. Pia tumekuandalia kalenda ya Ramadhan ili kukuweka kwenye mstari wa mbele katika funga yako. Tazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1 katika mwezi huu mtukufu wa Ramadhan ili kukuza na kuhifadhi imani yako.
A very good morning to you and welcome to Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. Unatutizama ukiwa wapi? Good morning on this 13th day of March 2024. Karibu sana. This is Good Morning Kenya, and as usual we have the show packed for you. Today we have various conversations centering on various topics, and one of which is cyber security. How do we enhance cyber security within the country? I'll be talking to Dr. Vincent Ngundu, who is the Acting Director of Cyber Security at the Communication Authority of Kenya. You want to tune into that conversation later on in the program. I'm not alone in studio. Vivian is with me. Good morning, Vivian.
Good morning, Mike. It is the 13th day of March. Today is a Wednesday, a beautiful Wednesday at that. Thank you for staying with us, or thank you rather for choosing to start off the morning with us. This is the only way to start off your morning, to ensure that you get to be informed on all matters that are happening in the country, plus very, very intriguing and informative topics. And today being a Wednesday, it is women at the forefront, and I will be joined by a great lady right here in studio. Her name is Alice Ngare. Alice Ngare is a movement building lead, which is an African-led movement to end FGM. And we'll be having a conversation with her concerning matters FGM and just how she is working on changing communities right here in the country. You definitely want to tune in to that. Victor Lo?
Yes,
how
good morning.
Are you?
I love the way you're putting it. 13th day of, what's the number?
What is it about number 13?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
After the bulletin. Good morning, welcome. We are almost in the middle of the month of March, right? Yes. Karibu sana to the program. I'm Victor Lo, sitting in for Maria and Regina Manyara. Let me just take you through what we have in the news bulletin. Later on, we'll take a look at what we have in the world of politics. That's on the viewpoint. All right about now, let's head over to the news bulletin, where the resignation of Haiti Prime Minister, that is Ariel Henry, sets in motion establish a transition council that will be tasked with appointing. Now, the decision was arrived at an emergency meeting of regional leaders of the Caribbean community in hopes to restore calm in that country rather. The latest development is one that security experts divide on whether or not Kenya should proceed with its plan to send police officers in the lead to this in the Caribbean nation. Timothy Kipnusu with the details of the crisis in Haiti.
Henry, who had been holed up in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico after violence escalated following the signing of a reciprocal agreement with Kenya, opted to step down, setting the stage of the establishment of a transition presidential council.
We acknowledge the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry upon the establishment of a transitional presidential council.
The transition council will comprise of 2 observers and 7 voting members, including representatives from a number of political coalitions, the business sector, civil society, and 1 religious leader who will elect an interim prime minister. In relinquishing his seat, the PM thanked the people of Haiti and called for peace. The developments come just a day after Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki revealed the deployment of the police officers was in the pre-deployment stages.
Kenyan police officers will be just part of the multinational security mission in Haiti. Kenya is the lead nation, but there are so many other countries that have pledged to contribute troops. And this came from the mandate of the United Nations Security Council. So it's part of our international obligation.
The unfolding events have piqued the interest of security experts who are divided on whether Kenya should abort its mission or continue.
And we know that they said if Kenyan forces step in Haiti, they will do something different, what we don't expect. And our CS has come out so strong and said we're going to go ahead. Basically telling you that CS's position, the president's position, is a position of advice. They know why they're saying what they're saying. There are a lot of background information, probably where we sit, we cannot be having. But we look at it from the face value, Haiti is a very dangerous.
A section of the experts warned deployment of officers will be a suicide mission, citing statements by gang leader Jimmy Barbecue Cherizia.
If you look at the situation there, we would think, from a security standpoint, that the best person to have given this intervention are people from the Caribbean countries, Jamaica, Guyana, Bahamas. Those people are used to that terrain that is there. Jamaica has handled this kind of a situation, so they have experience are better placed.
This, as others argue, the crisis is political and should be handled politically.
Asian nation, basically, most importantly, needs a political strategy for it to be able to attain the stability that is required. For the last 2 years, every person in that government has not been elected. We have the Prime Minister being called de facto Prime Minister. No election has been done. Probably this could be the things that are triggering this levels of violence and so many other breakdowns in social defenses of that nation. And many other things could be.
Haiti has lacked elected representatives since early 2023, and its next election will be in the first since 2016.
All right, let's take a look at what we have in the medical field. The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Pharmacists and Dentists Union now maintains that they will begin and they will withdraw their services effective midnight today in the failed talks with the government. The union says that despite 2 meetings with the Ministry of Health, little progress has been realized, faulting the government for failing to meet most and some of the demands which do not require budgetary allocation.
Services across all public hospitals are likely to be grounded effective Wednesday midnight if medics make good their threat to down their tools.
Solidarity forever.
The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union says that despite issuing a 1-week strike notice, the government is yet to engage them in a meaningful way to unlock the impasse.
So come Thursday morning, there won't be any doctor in the Republic of Kenya where our membership are and those whom we serve this strike notice. And this is because despite our strike notice, there have been no attempt by the government to offer any concrete solution. We have attended 2 meetings that sadly have not yielded much.
The meeting was probably just a breathing contest because with no agenda, nothing was discussed. There was no metrics, there was no offer from that side. It was just key and Mandazi offered. There were no decision makers. Kenyans should expect what happened in the 2017. Should expect that all public hospitals will be closed, shut, even if it's not closed and shut. But there will be no single doctor in the hospital. Whoever they'll be seeing in the white coats, those will be masqueraders from 12 midnight past 1 minute.
The union officials say that the government has failed to show them commitment, hence their resolve to resort to withdraw their labor.
every meeting we are being told the same thing about lack of resources. One, we know that even some of the things we're asking for might not require immediate financial implications. Some of them will require financial implications in the next 2, 3, 4 months. For example, the posting of interns is something that we are ready for them to be posted and to be paid in June, July. We are open to that. The payment of school fees for master's students, we've told them that UON and more universities are government institutions. Just write for them a letter that let the students do their exams. We will pay because they are sponsored.
Among the demands is the posting of medical interns, addressing promotions, medical cover, postgraduate fee payment, study leaves and justice for KMPDU Secretary General Dr. Davji Atela, who was injured during protests on the 29th of February 2024.
7 years down the line, some of my members have died, some from suicide because of the frustrations that the CBA would have solved, you know. The problem of the Kenyan doctor cannot wait any longer.
Right now, leaders drawn from the designated 6 rift counties that were classified as disturbed and dangerous now claim that 74 people have so far lost their lives to bandits since last year. The leaders too now noted that the situation is worsening by the day, also say that the insecurity fueled by banditry attacks has seen 2,000 people displaced from their homes. The legislators who are now blaming security officers of laxity are now calling for a change of tact in permanently dealing with the banditry menace and restoring normalcy in the region.
An upsurge of banditry attacks in Baringo North and Samburu counties has disrupted the lives of thousands of residents here. Leaders drawn from these areas are now blaming security apparatus mounted in the 6 disturbed counties of laxity and inability to deal permanently with the criminal outfits.
But still, it is getting worse each and every day. Right now, I'm talking here. I have lost my 3 locations to the bandits.
If we don't solve issues of border, we will always try to be very cosmetic. Let us put border issue into perspective and say we solve it.
My colleagues from across South Sudan have decided to come and camp in Kenya with guns. Not just simple guns, these AKs that you see. Machine guns.
Making their case before the National Assembly's Cohesion Committee, the MPs drawn from Laikipia, Samburu, West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo and Turkana say thousands have been displaced by the incessant banditry attacks, with tens more having lost their lives.
But every day we have buried so far 74 people, their livelihoods and livestock taken, including recently last week where we buried an elected member of the county assembly, an MCA.
The government recently deployed more GSU officers and armored personnel carriers as part of the escalated efforts to tame banditry in Baringo North, following an increase in the number of attacks, which have so far claimed 13 lives since January this year and led to over 2,000 families out of their homes. Learning has also been paralyzed in 5 schools in Baringo County due to insecurity.
Now, Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Kithure Kindiki, has maintained the 21-day period for fresh vetting of second-generation alcohol manufacturers still stands. Kindiki, who met second-generation alcohol manufacturers in Nairobi, declined their pleas to ease the measure on grounds that they were suffering financial losses. The CS said that the government is willing to lose revenue to correct the ills that have so far resulted in loss of lives. Now, this comes as 221 people were arrested in Nyanza for failing to comply with the 25 directives spelled out by the government to curb the problem of illicit brew and drugs.
Tuesday at the General Service Unit Training School in Embakasi, the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki held a meeting with the second-generation alcohol manufacturers following their outcry over the suspension of their licenses, among other measures. It is here that the CS reiterated that there is no turning back.
All the relevant agencies have been directed to make sure that this operation and the measures are in place. So far, we've registered huge successes across the country.
As you heard the Cabinet Secretary saying that we have 14 and a half days since it's now midday, going forward to ensure that we carry out this exercise and put in place legitimate businessmen and women whose products and production process does not endanger the lives of Kenyans.
Pleas by the manufacturers to ease the directives, citing huge losses, will, however, not deter the CS.
On 6th of March, all licenses that have been issued by county governments across the country, contrary to national law, namely the Alcoholic Drinks Control Acts. Some are next to schools, next to residential areas. Those licenses are revoked and those places are shut.
Kindiki maintained the war on illicit drugs and alcohol was a national security issue and that the government will not relent.
But now this matter is no longer, it's beyond the normal functioning of any level of government. It's a national security matter. As government, we have been able to say that we are even willing to forego certain revenues if aligning our revenue and taxation system can help us correct the mess in this sector.
This as a section of the manufacturers supported the directives, citing an influx of illegal manufacturers responsible for the poisonous brew.
Na CS Kindiki nimesema tunakusupport, but let us do a proper inspection. Tuache kutuma watu tu, wewe funga, wewe enda nyumbani. Watu wako na pombe zao, walikuwa wamefungua mitungi, zinaharibikia huko ndani. And we'll be happy. Sisi wenyewe tukiwekwa kwa hizo inspections.
As events were unfolding in Nairobi, in Kisumu, Nyanza Regional Commissioner Flora Moroa issued an update on the ongoing alcohol crackdown in the region. Moroa revealed over 500 raids have been conducted since Thursday last week, where 221 people were arrested, over 20 non-compliant establishments closed.
And we intend to carry on with this operation until we clear our region of all the illicit alcohol, the drugs, and all narcotics.
All right, now to some sad news. Now, the mystery surrounding the death of grade 8 pupil at Joy Gardens Primary School in Tena Umoja Estate in Nairobi has continued to deepen, with now the deceased family rejecting the report of an autopsy conducted on Tuesday. Speaking outside Mama Lucy Hospital mortuary, the pupil's parents faulted the post-mortem results, claiming that the defendant's lawyers tried to manipulate the result. Joseph Wahungu has the details.
3 days after being reported to have jumped to his death from the rooftop of his school in Umoja area, Nairobi County, the family of Wesley Njiru is crying foul over a post-mortem report released Tuesday. According to 3 pathologists representing the government, family and the school who conducted the post-mortem at Mama Lucy Hospital mortuary, the deceased died as a result of a fall from a high surface, which resulted in internal bleeding. However, the boy's father and mother vehemently opposed the post-mortem results, claiming the death of the minor did not coincide with the autopsy report.
That's one thing. There is also a compromise because of one thing. If they were they wanted to be objective, they could have at least let the person who is leading the medical school here, she's a professor and all that, she was so rude to us, actually, even when he had briefing. And we objected, actually, from the word go.
They also said there was no blood at the scene of the crime where the report stated the pupil fell from.
The post-mortem, they're saying that there was blood on his clothes. But for me, like I saw him when he was laying there on the floor, there was no single drop of blood. So that we rule it out.
However, lawyer Dunstan Omari, who is representing Joy Gardens Primary School, maintained his clients are innocent.
Bila shaka, uamuzi wa madaktari watatu umedhihirisha kwamba hakuna lawama wenye shule na walimu wa shule wahusika katika mauaji.
This as 2 directors of the school and 3 other people remain in custody pending a probe into the case.
Now to some politics now. Kiharu Member of Parliament, that is Ndindi Nyoro, now claims that his political forays across the country has all the blessings of President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. Nyoro, who was the chief guest at a bursary meeting in Kabete constituency, attended by over 10 legislators from Mount Kenya region, said that Kenyans should not read much from his recent high-octane political meeting, saying that he was just playing his oversight role as the chairperson of the Budget Committee of the National Assembly.
After leading a high political meeting in Uasin Gishu County, the Kiharu MP was in Kabete constituency on Tuesday in an entourage of another battalion of MPs in a political mission downplayed. Nyoro, this time with over 10 lawmakers allied to Kenya Kwanza, majorly drawn from the Kiambu County, in a bursary meeting hosted by a local member of parliament, Gadua Wamashukuru, to assist needy students in the area. It is here that the Budget Committee chairman in the National Assembly steered clear of a proposal by a section of MPs to back him for the leadership of the Central Kenya region, saying countrywide tours had blessings of both President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua and nothing much.
Mheshimiwa Jematia, Mheshimiwa Alice Ng'ang'a, my other sister, msingi ambao tunaweka kwa sasa kwa serikali ni kumaanisha kwamba wale ambao wanakuja nyuma yetu watakuta msingi bora tuweze kusonga mbele kama taifa.
Migori County Woman Representative Fatuma Mohamed saying the lawmaker was now ripe to take a national position in the country's leadership.
Nilinyoro mimi sio wa Kenya Kwanza, lakini mimi nikikuangalia mimi ningekuwa kwa hiyo chama, bendera yako ningepeleka mbele, unafaa. Hiyo ni mambo yenu watu wa Kenya Kwanza mtaona, mimi nimeongea kama mama, si ndio? Si mama uona mali. Na kwa sababu najua kubeba mimba miezi 9, kikiniuma najua kile kinaniuma. Mimi huyu mtoto namwangalia na macho mbili yangu ya 3 ya 4 nimeachia watu ya Kenya Kwanza. Muone vile mtamfanya, lakini kana akili.
Nyoro also called for patience among the intern teachers countrywide as fund to absorb all the 26,000 on permanent terms had been considered in the 2024-2025 budget.
Itahakikisha wale interns walichukuliwa pale awali 26,000 interns wataajiriwa on permanent and pensionable terms. Na tumeongeza pia pesa ya kuongeza walimu wengine 20,000.
Katika serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ambayo tunaongozwa na rais wetu mpendwa William Ruto, sisi tumekubali tusaidie yeye kufanya kazi, tusaidie hustlers. Hapa tuko hapa kwa sababu ya masomo.
Intern teachers totaling to 26,000 across the country are set to gain employment on permanent and pensionable terms as the money for the course has been allocated in the budget of the financial year 2024 and 2025.
Some business now. Short stay rentals platform Airbnb has announced a ban on surveillance cameras inside the rental properties beginning May this year. Now, the move is meant to address the privacy of customers and to streamline the company's policy on security cameras. This comes amidst calls by Kenyans to regulate the operations of the rental accommodation and install CCTV cameras inside Airbnbs for security reasons.
Insecurity incidences in short-stay rentals in Kenya hit headlines in January this year. This is despite the mother company Airbnb distancing itself, saying the properties where the crimes took place were not listed on its platform. Kenyans on social media have been pushing for installation of CCTV cameras inside the rental properties to curb the crimes, while others express concerns over what appear to be concealed cameras in Airbnbs, citing breach of privacy.
There's nothing wrong with having cameras in public spaces, but in private space, it's a bit it's a bit intrusive. Issue of crime. The way it's being presented is like the sector is to blame for the crime. Criminals are criminals, and they'll always take advantage of opportunities. So I think we should be looking at how do we avoid or mitigate against such criminal offenses.
Today, Airbnb is introducing a ban on surveillance cameras inside rental properties listed on its platform. The changes to the company's policy will come into effect on April 30th. The move is set to improve the privacy of rental customers and to streamline the company's policies on security cameras.
But on the part of the hosts, it will mean that they have to look for other ways to address security concerns, which are the primary reasons why cameras are actually installed, especially locally, where we've been having issues with security. It comes as a paradox because now it means that the hosts have to look for additional ways to address issues of security and also to address, just in case there's any theft or breakage within their units, how they're able to follow that up. So it might mean maybe on-site check-ins, on-site additional security manpower.
Airbnb does not allow surveillance cameras to be placed in private areas like bedrooms and bathrooms. The new rules will still allow the use of doorbell cameras and noise monitors in common areas. However, hosts must disclose the presence and general location of any outdoor cameras before guests book. The updated policy also bans the use of outdoor cameras that point inside properties.
It's a story that will elicit a lot of reaction. Now to some sports news now. The Ministry of Sports and the Kenya Revenue Authority are now working on a framework to shield Kenyan sportsmen and women competing in international events from double taxation ahead of the 2024 Paris Olympics Games. Kenya is expected to send a strong contingent to the Games slated for 26th July to 11th of August in France.
Kenyan athletes may soon get a reprieve from double taxation after Cabinet Secretary for Sports Ababuna Mwamba revealed that the ministry and the Kenya Revenue Authority are working on a way to ease the burden of Kenya sportsmen and women of being double taxed.
Our athletes have always raised the concern that when they win any earnings in foreign lands, they pay taxes at source. If you win something in Paris and you are paid something, it is taxed at source. And I'm delighted to announce that we have been working on a framework to shield our athletes, our sportsmen and women from double taxation. And we have finally struck a deal with the Kenya Revenue Authority and Treasury, which will, from now moving forward, protect our athletes from double taxation.
Namwamba disclosed this while unveiling the Preparatory and Management Committee for the Paris 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and at the same time gave an update on the ongoing process of selecting the official Team Kenya ceremonial Olympic attire.
It feels like this is a period where Kenya is showcasing itself, particularly now that we have the media here. It's showcasing itself to show that we've been working together as a ministry, the sporting fraternity, those that have other talents, creative economy, coming together to say, yes, let's see what we can showcase as Kenyans.
The Team Kenya will camp in the French city Miramas as they target to win more medals compared to Tokyo 2020, where they finished with a total of 10 medals, 4 gold, 4 silver and 2 bronze medals.
For us, as part of the lead team of Team Kenya, to say thank you to Waziri and the PS because of making this process open, making it public and making it engaging to everybody so that when our Kenyans step out, do I say step out or ride out or ride in? River saying it will be a reflection and the Kenyans will feel they were part and parcel of that. So Connie will come and just take us through the technical aspects.
So far, 2 teams, Sports Malkia Strikers and Shujaa, have qualified for the Olympic Games, while para-rower Asia Mohammed and para-athletes Nancy Chelangat, Mary Njoroge and Wesley Sang have also qualified for the Paralympic Games.
All right, that does it for now on sports news and business on this particular day. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now we are taking a break, but before then, my guests are already in studio. I have got 4 gentlemen. Today is Ladies' Night, Wednesday, but I have to admit, I'm biased. Gentlemen, ladies, don't hang me. I beg you for apology, don't hang me. I've got Makali Mulu, Member of Parliament, Kitui Central, Mheshimiwa Karibu Sana. I've got Abraham Kirwa from Mosop, representing the great people of Mosop constituency, Mheshimiwa Karibu Sana. Asante. And Dick Maungu, all the way from Luanda constituency, Mheshimiwa Karibu. Thank you. And the former MP, and he calls himself CS. He loves to tell you, kuna fununu hapo nje, sio?
I don't call myself I am.
You are?
Yes.
Okay. Kuna fununu, you'll tell us why. All right. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Thank you. All right, so let's take a break and we come back. We know how we're going to do it. We are going to get into the viewpoint right about after this break. Stay with us.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who's the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Sio wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
This is a very exciting moment, not just for Naivasha, not just for the county of Nakuru, but also for Kenya.
Okay, ready? Ready.
This thing is crazy. I mean, the sheer speed, you can hardly see the road. These guys are really professional. It's really something out of this world. Ask me whether I want to do this again? I'm not sure.
Kuna pale nilikuwa nataka uniokolee yake.
Na nini?
12,000.
Hiyo pesa mkitoa mnafanyia nini?
Get rich quick. Kwani kuna doza bwanako na zako?
It will never leave Christine for you. You can take that to the bank.
Our bond is almost unbreakable.
Kwa nini ulimnunulia ile nguo? Is that what got you worked up? Haya, mpatie. Well, I'm sure that originally belonged to Jen.
Sasa kama amepata mtu mwingine, si ni aseme tu, laini iwe fupi.
I have losses to count.
按你的理论和数学模型计算出的结果与此不符，你跟我可连零都不是。
对，到时候你们就真的啥都不是了。
游戏的进程该加快了。
时间的尽头。
And welcome back. It's now 7 minutes past 7 a.m. Now let's take to the political arena and talk about what's affecting us generally in the country and, of course, even across our borders. As I earlier mentioned, my guests already in studio. We are getting into that shortly, but how about now? Let me take you through what's happening on the front page of the local dailies. Let me start with the People Daily here. On the front page of the People Daily, this was on the splash here. 6 students on their own. This is what's on the front page of the People Daily. 6 students on their own. Termination of Edu Afya medical scheme with no alternative, exposed learners with parents now forced to dig deeper into drying pockets to pay for bills. That is what's on the front page of the People Daily. Of course, that's on the front page. You have got Bello Kipsang there. And yes, how is it going to be? That is on the front page of the People Daily. You can take a look at that story. There you go. And what do we have on the front page of the Standard? Ruto walks on a tightrope on Haiti mission. Ruto walks on a tightrope on Haiti mission. The U.S. has pledged more than 41 billion shillings for Kenya to deploy officers to the war-torn country, but evacuated its citizens. And now, at the same time, Ruto says that it's a service to humanity, but the price could be too high for the police. This is what we have here. And let me just quote verbatim: "The cry by our brothers and sisters who were the first people to win their struggle for freedom from colonial tyranny has reached out our ears and touched our hearts." Quote unquote, President William Ruto. That is what's on the front page. How about on the top header here? Leaders shudder at thought of party elections. That is again on the front page. Counties to get 50 billion shillings less revenue. They raised that concern during the parliamentary group meeting in Naivasha, and now the Standard quotes that it's going to be 50 billion shillings less in terms of revenue, and that is where we have it. How about front page of the Daily Nation? Mudavadi, why we settled on Raila for AU job. Coming down to the main reader, no reprieve over housing pay cuts. No reprieve over housing pay cuts. Again, Kenya Kwanza lawmakers successfully threw out all proposals by minority side. That is what we have. And so now, senators yesterday, yet again threw Kenyans under the bus after they shot down proposals that sought to cap housing levy deductions at 2,500 shillings, as well as peg the amount to be paid at 1.5% of an employee's net salary. This means that workers and their employers will now resume paying high rates when the bill becomes law. 2,500 shillings, that's the amount Senator that's Okongo Mogeni had proposed at housing levy cap. So that's where we have it. Again, officials, cash and property frozen in graft probe. EACC working hard there. There we have it again. Finally, again, still on the issue of Haiti, Kenya holds Haiti police deployment after Prime Minister resigned. He resigned yesterday. Latest development derails plan, says the PS. Mheshimiwa Makali, let me start with you, and perhaps just start with the front page of the People Daily. What do you make of this? 6 students on their own. I mean, it's been on the headlines for quite some time now, and now People Daily is reporting this. What do you make of this headline?
Yeah, thank you all for hosting us.
Right, Karibu.
It's been long. I'm happy to be back. It's unfortunate when you read that headline. What we are seeing here is not really what we expect to see. What has happened, although, you know, we've moved from the national NHIF to the current arrangement, and what has happened is in the transition period, there has been that gap where the students were left without any insurance. And that's why I'm saying what has happened is very unfortunate.
Yes.
Because what should have happened is, in terms of transition, we should have planned in a way that the students will still remain covered. The whole proposal is good when you look at it, because they are saying you have a family where the father is a member of the NHIF, which means the family is covered. But then you go ahead and then cover a student who is a member of that family.
Yes.
You use some double kind of cover. So this arrangement where you have only a family being covered and everybody in the family is covered is a better arrangement. But I think the fact that we are not able to manage that transition, to me, that's what I'm saying is unfortunate. It should not have happened in a country where people are planners and good planners.
Yes. Mheshimiwa Sossion, good morning.
Good morning, Victor.
You look worried about this headline.
Well, of course, it should worry us if, rightly as Makali Mulia stated,
yes.
We are transiting to universal health coverage. And in universal health coverage, it is all households being covered by the medical scheme or insurer. And therefore, that means all the students will also be covered. And you are aware there have been court issues back and forth when the students' coverage in terms of transition was terminated legally towards end of last year. But I think the headline may not be giving us also the right picture as such, because all students must be treated in the nearest medical facilities close to their institution. That lacuna is not there. The only thing is administrative action to ensure that all students are treated for the time being, and not just all students, even Kenyans. And I think this is a matter of time before it's done away with, because we must move to the UHC program. And as we do, we must also ensure that Kenyans are properly treated during the transitional period. I think that should be the philosophy. It should not just be only students, but the rest of Kenya.
So, Maungo, Parliament is overworking and Senate is now here. Again, we have this. What do you make of this headline?
Well, fortunately, I sit in the Departmental Committee on Education, and yesterday, Belly appeared before us on the same matter. And it's a fact that students are on their own. I say so because we are in a transition period. As Mheshimiwa Mulla said, is that the universal health coverage is a good idea. But provisions are not put in place to ensure that students are well protected during this transition phase. So currently, as we speak, they are on their own. And yesterday, the PS was at pains to explain because how kids who previously were under the Edu-Afya cover, for example, were on medical care or sought medical attention outside the country, and these kids had severe conditions that required them to be taken care of. And now here comes a case whereby they have now written to parents saying that this cover has come to an end. Some year last year, somewhere there, and therefore you need to find an alternative way. To find you and I, maybe it may be possible for me to take care of my kid, but there's that vulnerable parent in Luanda who is unable to take care of the kid, and therefore Edu-Afya came in to protect such a person, to ensure that he or she is well covered. So it's a fact the students are on their own, and the universal health coverage is a good idea. But what we lacked was good planning, which will ensure that the kids are taken care of and handed over to the new scheme, which will now take care of the overall case. So it's unfortunate. But
what's the proposal from the committee? What did you get from the PS in details, perhaps, to shed more light on this?
You know, we wanted to find out the real position of government in terms of this, because you know, out there when you go out, parents come to our offices. Some of them, you know, initially, you know, people may not have known the impact of Edu-Afya, but believe me that this cover did provide a lot of reprieve to parents who others will not be able. And therefore, they are the ones talking out there and crying that now they've been left on their own. In fact, in Swahili, people say, someone has been taking care of you all through. All of a sudden now, you're on your own. So we wanted to find out, but now from the position that we got yesterday was that they envisage that the social health insurance fund, which should be more of a universal protection, people take care of such. But in the meantime, unfortunately, there's no other way. Parents have been told now, take care of your kid until that time, because you remember court cases were there that ensured that kind of derailed the plan. But beside that, the universal health coverage is a good plan, which, if well implemented, then will therefore bring many people who others will not be in the scheme into proper medical care.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll ask you more questions later on for that. Now that you've seen that committee and the PS appeared before yesterday. Mheshimiwa Abraham, the people of Mosopa are watching, and perhaps they need to hear your voice as far as this is concerned as well.
Thank you,
Kenyans
Victor.
in general.
Thank you, Victor. Right. I think this is a genuine concern for most of the students, but at the same time, people daily have not been very fair because they know very well that the UHC, which the government is rolling out, is going to really cover everybody. The Social Health Insurance Fund is intended actually to cover all families, from children all the way to parents. So in this transition period, which most of the members have mentioned here, is that there is that lacuna that we are trying to see what do we do with the children now at this time, that the UHC is not in effect and also NHIF has come to an end. So within that period of time, I'm sure that the government is looking into something to make sure that the children or these students are covered. But at the same time, it's not that the government is not aware of concerns of some of these students who may not have the coverage. They are very aware, like a member mentioned, Member of Parliament mentioned that Belia was present yesterday to actually address these issues, and I think the Ministry of Education is actually addressing the matter, and I think it will be taken care of. One is that Kenyans, not only the students, most of the Kenyans are still also wondering what do we do now that NHIF has come to an end. As we transition to Social Health Insurance Fund, what should we use? Because Victor, the biggest cost right now in this country is healthcare. We do a lot of fundraisers. Every weekend in my constituency, I attend a lot of fundraisers just because most people cannot afford actually to pay. And that is why we say these people are going to courts to stop the implementation of UHC. Are doing Kenyans unfair, because now look at the students are just left to Kwamata. Look at most of the Kenyans are going through a lot of these struggles just because the UHC is not in effect. The NHIF has come to an end. So we want to make sure that we effect the issue of SHIF so that all Kenyans will be covered. And that's what it says, regardless of those who are able, there's so many who may not be able to afford to pay for their SHIF. The government will pay for them. And I think this, once it's in effect, Kenya is going to be one of the best countries to handle the issues of health. So it's a genuine concern, yes, and I think it's being addressed as we move forward. But at the end of the day, when SHIF, social health insurance, is being implemented well, it will be for the best of the country.
Again, I don't think what Mheshimiwa Maungu you're going to say as far as that is concerned, because we call it shift now from NHIF, it's going to be shift. Yes. So there's that window period. Allow me to just interrogate you further on that. There's that window period. So what's going to happen then? Well, the government is aware. So what else?
And that's our problem, because you find, as Moshe has put, this program came to an end last year in October, end of October. Now these kids have been left on their own from November, December, because initially it was envisaged that the NSHF could have been in program early. All right. But how I wish, for example, because there was a contract that was extending, how I wish that terminated in October, that the government will have extended that contract by maybe let's say 6 months. That will ensure that the kids are taken care of in the meantime. You know, you find that most organizations, including this one, it's a medical scheme for the staff. Yes. And should they want to shift from one scheme to the other, they will not leave their staff exposed. They will have to take them protected in that cover. Now, we are a country with great men and women who are great thinkers. I wonder how there came up an opportunity that there was no one who to think beyond that and say, we have a gap of 6 or 7 months. Who is going to take care of these kids within these 7 months? A kid is in India on a program, maybe heart condition or whatever condition. Now, who is taking care of that kid during that time? What means that this is a kid of a poor parent? This parent cannot be able to afford medical care for this person. We are waiting for something, you know, we are selling hope. But this guy is in a place that he needs this hope today. So I believe universal health coverage is a great idea, and we all support it because it will bring in more, and it will actually you know, take off from leaders maybe the burden of taking care of, you know, these smaller rambles every other day. But in the meantime, we failed as a country because we didn't provide alternatives. We don't provide mechanisms that will ensure that in the meantime of 6 or 7 months, these kids are covered. And we are crying because of those needy parents, you know, in those rural areas. A village in Luara, for example, we only have a level 4. You find that those extreme conditions, the Edwafia will take care of this kid, to an extent of even taking them out of the country. Now this kid is back. Like we were told yesterday, about 9 of them. We have 9 such conditions that
out of the country.
Who now came back. Yes. Letters were written out to the parent, giving them back to the parent, that this program has come to an end. So could you find alternatives of taking care of this? And that's what you're saying. I think our planners failed us on this because they could have provided, you know, from October now, imagine November, to now. Maybe one or two may have lost their lives in this unfortunate scenario. Yeah.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Makali, I can see you are nodding on this.
No, you know, I think let's call a spade a spade. We want to be very honest with ourselves. Some people failed in managing the transition on this matter. And from what Mheshimiwa said, because he sits in that committee, imagine somebody who had a child in somewhere like India, and you're already stuck there, you have medical bills to sort, you're not prepared yourself to sort these medical bills because somebody was paying for you. All of a sudden, you are told you are on your own. Yes. You can imagine the kind of, that period, what you put that family through. And that's what we are saying, really. Despite the fact that we are moving from one insurance arrangement to another one, it is important we manage that transition. And that's where we failed. Let the ministry just own up, say we failed, next time we'll do it better. And let's learn the lessons we've already learned through this and make sure that as we move to the future, this will never happen again. The debate here is not about whether we are moving to a better scheme. The debate is, did you manage the transition well? And the answer is, no, they did not manage the transition, especially on this, it's called what?
Edwafia. Yes.
They failed in managing that. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Sosion, because at the end of the day, somebody would argue that students are innocent, parents are innocent, but the planners now, the whole question is about the planners. So who's going to refund that money? There's that transition period. Is it going to be rolled over to the next scheme? Perhaps, Mheshimiwa Maungu, you will help us answer that. Is it going to be rolled over? And did the government foresee this, the transition period and that lacuna?
Ideally, we should not be talking about who really should cover the students.
Yes.
Edu-Afia is a government program, and therefore students cannot be abandoned simply because we are transiting to another scheme. In that transition period, of course, it was expected if litigations did not come up, and we've seen a lot of litigations against government programs that have remained in abeyance, and some of the programs are being recalibrated through legislation again in Parliament. And it's so unfortunate that this court litigations has affected smooth transition from NHIF to SHIF. And when the court orders were issued, I don't think anybody was ready for this kind of confusion.
Yes.
But my firm belief is students who are sick should be treated by the government. That's a fact for sure. They should be protected and treated by the government. We have health facilities out there, whether they're public or private. We have students who are evacuated out of the country. We cannot talk about transferring the bills to the parents. Yes, of course, universal health coverage is based on a clear financial framework of contributions from the citizens. And also the indigents also who cannot pay will be covered by the government. So one way or the other, there will be some payments to be made. So the interim measures that should be put in place is to ensure that students are treated for the time being, even during the transition, without transferring the cost to the household. That is a decent thing to do. If really we are committed, and I believe government is so committed to roll out universal health coverage and implement the 4 different acts that have been enacted by Parliament. So really we should not discuss that students are on their own. If students are sick, they are under the jurisdiction and supervision of government through the Ministry of Education. So specific and special arrangements should be made and ensure that these students are treated, even if it means transferring the cost to the next level when we have the UHC fully operational. Then part of its expenditure should be backdating payments for the students who have been covered, because they have a right to be treated. So according to me, we should not even imagine neglecting students from being treated simply because we are in a transition. We must have clear administrative mechanisms to ensure that students are treated. Yeah, it should be.
Situation.
That should be, and I think that's what the committee should do. And the committee should not negotiate with what needs to be done. It should ensure that it is enforced and students are treated. That we can negotiate, according to me, from where.
I hear Mheshimiwa Sosion, and his points are valid. But as we speak, the kids are on their own. Because you see, budgetary provision wasn't made to ensure that in the transition, in the meantime, these kids are taken care of. So the contract came to an end.
Yes.
And it was terminated. And that's why I was saying that the peers who appeared before us yesterday say that they now notified parents that this program has unfortunately come to an end. So alternative measures should be done to ensure this kid is on a medication. So you find that that's why we are talking about the planners. What Mheshimiwa is saying is very valid. But you see, that never happened. That never happened. Because how would Sosion, not Sosion, but Mheshimiwa, I mean, the PS Belio, for example, get funds to finance that when such was not provided for, as much as Parliament is supposed to budget, to play a role in that budgeting. So you find that it came to an end and the kids are left on their own. What had been envisaged initially was that the SHF should take over. But you see, it delayed. So now kids are supposed to survive under the NHIF that is existing. And I'm selective of the word survive because some parents are not covered under NHIF. It depends with who is able to pay. So you find that now it's a very tricky position, by the way, and sometimes a very sad one, especially for those parents who are unable. Those parents whose kids had, severe conditions and needed to be taken care of. That's where the problem is. And it's that unfortunate. It's
a bit unfortunate.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break and we come back. We're going to continue. And the Prime Minister of Haiti resigned yesterday.
Yes.
1,000 police officers were supposed to be sent, but then now there's another info that there's going to be a delay in sending the police officers to Haiti. What do we stand or gain in as far as this is concerned? Let's interrogate that further when we come back after this break. Please stay with us.
Hi, I'm Lynette Ayuko. I'll be navigating Pauline in the Safari Rally. My goal is to get her to the ramp and to finish. I always like finishing and just inspiring somebody else that it's possible for the ladies to come out. So that's me. That's my agenda this year. Come and support. Follow the rally through KBC. Last year they did a fantastic job. Looking forward to this year. Also come support. Stay safe. Do not drink and drive. Give way to the drivers and just come have fun and show Kenyans that it's possible and enjoy.
Now, just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Haiti, that is Ariel Henry, resigned amidst chaos that has rocked that Caribbean nation. And the government was planning to send 1,000 police officers to restore calm and order in that troubled country. Now, the ministry, through the CPS, said that the deployment of police officers will, is a bit off track. So what does that really mean to that particular country? Because they say they need to have a substantial power and authority, center of authority for them to have this transaction done. In as much as this is happening, again, the America was also promised 41 billion shillings to aid that. Let me start with you, Makali. So where are we? To send or not to send? To have a stable country in Haiti or not? Where is Kenya? What do we stand to gain or lose? So many questions in one. Go ahead.
Although that's a very interesting question. But I would say we are where we are.
Yes, where we are now.
Because, this matter of Kenya as a country sending police officers to Haiti has been a very contentious issue. A lot of Kenyans, Makali included, we've been saying we don't think this is the right decision at this point, informed by what is happening in Haiti. It was not informed by the fact that we need to send people out there. There were those people who were hanging from a legal framework saying we didn't have any legal framework which would enable this country send our policemen to Haiti. And it is a result of that the Prime Minister of Haiti came here and they were able to sign some papers with our memorandum of understanding with our president. But look at this. The Prime Minister comes to Kenya and by the time he is planning to go back, he can't land in his country because of these gangs. What we need to note is that when you call somebody a gang is somebody who has analyzed all their risks and they have said that I'm ready to take these risks and they are very daring. So imagine a prime minister who has special security teams to guard him. He wants to land in his country, he can't land, and our policemen with their G3 are being sent to that country. They will be misdemeaned. They will just be killed, all of them. So what we have been saying is, this plan needs to be planned, and I think this was actually God's doing, what has happened. That this guy resigned, because I think what God is telling us is that, guys, hold on a bit. You send these sons and daughters of yours to Haiti, they all come back in coffins. And it's good that now we are saying, I like what the PS was saying, that now with the new development, we may not be able to send our people to Haiti. That might be delayed a bit. Because what is happening, Haiti, there's nothing called a government. There's no structured government where you can say you can interact with anybody. Now you have seen they're talking about a council, to form a council to take the leadership in the interim period. And you can see what is happening. America is proposing to give us 41 billion, but at the same time they are evacuating their citizens in Haiti. So you can see the irony. You are telling me, give me money to send my people to Haiti to go and die. At the same time, you're actually evacuating your citizens. Yes. So if it is safe, that is safe. Why don't you allow your citizens to remain there, and then we send the Kenyan police so that Kenyan police together with the American citizens are together in Haiti, and then we can improve the situation. But it's not where we have Kenyans in and Americans out, and then we have the money. I don't think any money in this country would be good enough to warrant our soldiers to go out there. And then these gangs take, because when you look at these gangs, it's good that now these days we have social media. At times you see clips in the social media, the way these guys even walk, they just no more walking, you can see the kind of confidence they have. They walk just on the streets, harassing everybody. There seems to be nobody who cares whether there's government or no government. And now you can see this guy has already resigned. He's become a raya. And then it's good that we have nobody now to sign with. Let our policemen remain here. We will be more than willing to support our brothers in Haiti because they are black like us. But at the right time. We don't want also to expose our soldiers to a life where they will end up dying. It will be very bad for this country if we got our people back in coffins. Yes. Yeah. Mheshimiwa Abraham.
Victor, I think the issue that we have in Haiti is more of a political problem than really an issue of gangs. The issue that is going on now, that the Prime Minister has resigned, they are trying to figure out who is going to take over after him. The issue that needs to be addressed is we need to have a negotiated democracy in Haiti. The governments now that are trying to bring peace to the nation of Haiti needs to now sit down and say, even sending soldiers, sending police officers at the moment, is it going to make any difference?
Yes.
I believe that what Kenya is doing is right because they want to see peace in Haiti. But now, sending police officers to a nation where there is no government is actually going to be a big problem. And I think the president, when he accepted to send the police officers, he knew that there was a government. The prime minister came, they negotiated a deal with them, and they agreed that moving forward, we are going to be able to do something. And that was okay. But now that things have changed, I think it's wise to look back and say, now that there is no government in place, the prime minister is not in place, many other things are not in place, why don't we look for a way to stabilize, first of all, Haiti? Once it's now stabilized, and there is a government in place, then we send a peacekeeping mission forces, where now they are going to maintain peace in Haiti. That one I do support, and I still support what the president said, that, you know, these are our brothers, these are the people, they fought for the independence, they were able to chase the British away, and they were able to become independent. But what Haitians are saying is that for a very long time, we've not been able to have an independent election.
Yes.
They believe that most of their leaders have been imposed by the West.
Or even the prime minister was unelected. He didn't have legitimate powers.
So now that's where the issue actually is. Because as you look at what's happening, we call them gangs. These are people really, they are fighting for their freedom of, you know, they want to be free. They want to have an independent government. And so I think this is a great opportunity now that there is a window, that there's a possibility to now try to restore peace by just having a legitimate government in Haiti. And once we have this legitimate government in place, now it will be easier to bring in the peacekeeping forces who are going to maintain peace in Haiti.
Yeah.
But moving in right now with 1,000 police officers from Kenya, police officers here, we know, they don't go to war. They don't go to, they maintain law and order. That is, you know, watumishi kwa wote. These are not military, these are people that maintain peace. But now, which peace are you going to maintain when there is chaos already in the ground?
That's a good question.
So I think the president is good, is right when he says we need peace, and I support him that we need peace in Haiti. We have to, when our brothers cry, like the prime minister came, but even he himself now is out of place. He's already resigned. He said, I'm out. So if he himself is already out, then we need to listen. We need to look back. And I like when they said, now we're going to stay back a little bit and review the situation on the ground and say, now that there is no government, no major government in place, what should we do? It was a good thing in the past, in the first place, to just send police officers because there was a government. But at the moment now that he has resigned, we don't know how things are going to go, we should not rush in. The U.S. has committed $41 billion that they are going to put in, so that, but they are also evacuating their people also from Haiti, because they are saying that the country is becoming extremely unstable, and so citizens come first. So I think moving forward, we will still send. I still believe that it would be wise to send our police officers, but not now.
But not now.
But not now.
Let's look at it this way. So, according to you, you're saying that there need to be some substantial government, first of all, before we send our troops. But Mheshimiwa Maungu, I'll look at it this way. How are they going to get their power or their government in place, and yet they've assassinated some of their presidents in the past? I mean, how are they going to do it? Perhaps Kenya was going to help them to stabilize.
Well, thank you. I stand from the point that sending our soldiers to Haiti was a mistake. And I'm one of those who opposed that in Parliament. Because, you know, and we have vindicated in a way. Because you remember what happened in Capedo one time when we took a contingent of soldiers to go and try to bring some order. These kids, I mean, these people, very young soldiers, police having come from Kiganjo, were like minced meat because they were overpowered.
Yeah.
Now, you take our people, Kenya, we brag of having a police force that is well trained. But now you take these people to a country that is in anarchy, a country that has got gangs are moving about with guns and other weapons. And you want to take our people there before you even know the geography of the place. Before you understand what happens to the place, I mean, you are minced meat and you are done. So for us, we did oppose it. And it's true that the court sided with us by saying that, you know, talking about that bilateral kind of arrangement. And the Prime Minister flew back to come and do it. But the irony of this is that now the US government finances the operations. but on the other side, evacuates its non-essential staff out of Haiti and gives a cautionary statement to its people that don't you go to Haiti because you'll be murdered or killed. And therefore, but gives us money because we are a poor state and all we need is money. You know, take our people there, our sons there, to go and, you know, keep peace and whatever. You know, it is important to keep peace because Kenya has played a great role in the neighborhood, trying to keep peace. But the safety of our people is very important, and the safety of our soldiers was very, very key. So finally, this has happened because no government in place, and I believe you saw the Council of the Caribbean countries sat down and told this guy, now you have to step down. You imagine that the Prime Minister flew into Kenya, signed an agreement, but couldn't go back. And our question was now, if this guy has not been able to land back, how on earth would therefore our soldiers be able to go and land and take possession and be able to control, I mean, kind of bring law and order? To me, it was a big miss. And I'm happy that our soldiers will not be going there. Because the question is that there's no government. Whether there's government or no government, I mean, it was a bit a risky place to take our soldiers to start with. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Sossion, as you comment on that, there's going to be a delay. But even after that, so does the bilateral agreement still stand? What's your take?
I think we should look at this Haiti crisis differently. It's a very deep humanitarian crisis. And I've been receiving calls and correspondence from Caribbean teachers from the Bahamas, Jamaica, and even Haiti itself, asking, when are the Kenyan soldiers coming? We need peace in Haiti. When this pronouncement was made, the expectations have been raised within the Caribbean, and people expect that at least there will be some sense of order. But with the developing situation, it's time for us to think deeply, particularly the African continent. These are our brothers. These are human beings. These are members of the human race. They need peace. And I agree with the president that a lot needs to be done to ensure that Haiti is restored. And my belief is that the UN then, Security Council or the UN organ, should be able to review the status of Haiti. And I agree very strongly, we need to bring peace. What is it that the gangs, why are the gangs overrunning government?
Yes.
What is organically not working politically within the Haiti itself? That needs to be addressed so that then there is some sense of stability and equilibrium. If these gangs can organize itself into a formidable and orderly political force, so be it. So that then Haiti can be assisted by international community to organize itself and restore law and order. Because what we are getting is a deep concern that we are losing the country, we are losing humanity, we are losing everything, and therefore, according to me, we don't need to celebrate that our soldiers have not gone. Our soldiers should still prepare to go.
Do you agree there's an irony there? 41 billion shillings dangled for Kenya.
No, I think a lot needs to be done beyond the money.
And the big boy is saying, evacuating their people.
No, and let's not look at Haiti through the lens of the U.S. If we do that, it's the wrong thing to do. Let's look at Haiti from the lens of humanitarian crisis. And these are our own brothers and sisters. And if indeed certain strategic actions of the U.S. are complicating peace in Haiti, we should speak about it. And so what is it? And according to me, even the sending of police officers to Haiti was not a decision by Kenya. It's a resolution through the UN. And that should still stand. And therefore, I think there is need to revisit and reorganize the peace mission in Haiti. Maybe we may need the military and a UN peacekeeping force. We've done it. What is the UN doing about Haiti? Is the UN transacting business on from day-to-day basis while humanitarian situation is deepening in Haiti. The UN should come in very strongly, and Kenya has already volunteered to send its own forces, but it cannot do it at the moment alone. It needs to be a concerted international effort so that we bring peace in Haiti. And I agree with the president. Sending our forces and ensuring that they are safe and they deliver peace is a good thing. So those are things we need to look at. But we don't need to say, yes, let us not send our soldiers to Haiti.
Mheshimiwa Makali, you said that this was a blessing, and you agree that, according to you,
in disguise,
is a blessing in disguise. Look, the Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary, that is Koris Ngwe, said that the departure of Prime Minister had altered the situation on the ground, and now the government will now work to with the mission. It's not going to mark the mission yet. So the question is, so what are we going to lose in that situation? Currently, what are we going to lose? What are we going to gain as a country had we sent our soldiers or police officers to Haiti?
You know, I think from what Honorable Sosien is saying, we need to there are two facts we must appreciate. That we need peace in Haiti. That's a fact. It doesn't change anything. Everybody needs peace in Haiti. How we achieve that peace is not the question. Do we achieve that peace by having more people losing their lives, or do we achieve it in a better structured way that at the end of the day we achieve peace, but we have very little in terms of losing lives? And to me, what we are to gain as a country, you know, Kenya is part of the international community. So in a situation where we are seen to be participating in promoting peace is a good thing for the country. But we are saying we cannot do that at the cost of the lives of our own people. And that's why you see all along we have said this issue of us sending people to Haiti, and even when you look at the distance from here to Haiti, you know, we have sent peacekeepers to Western Africa here, which is not very far. Look at even the journey from here to Haiti, where it is. Imagine you wanted to evacuate your people from Haiti back to Kenya. How does it take the same time as evacuating from Haiti to US? US is very near from Haiti. And this is what we are saying, that what has happened now, and that's why I was saying it's a blessing in disguise, is that now it has given us an opportunity to sit back and reflect on our earlier decision. And that's why I like what the PS Foreign Affairs is saying. He's saying now with what has happened, that now that the Prime Minister has resigned, we can now sit down and think around it again, because now we no longer have any government. So I like what Ono is also saying. If the gangs were to convert themselves to a government and then we achieve peace, it's also another way. For me, I have no problem. So long as there's peace in Haiti, we all agree. But then a situation where you have two parties, and it looks like by your standards and from my assessment where I sit, it looks like the wing which is being supported by the gangs is actually the most powerful wing. Because they have already killed a sitting president, and they have made sure that even the Prime Minister, who has been now
has resigned, has not landed back, but
could not even land to that. So it means these are the guys who wield the power. How I wish that they could just now, from their team, get one of them to be the president, and then they take over the government, stabilize, and move on. That's my imagination, because then we must agree, we must accept these are the guys. So my fear is, if we were to send Kenyan policemen now to these guys who seem to be wielding all this power, they will just kill them, and then we start to amend.
We've had our own fair share as a country, and we've always found a solution to it.
Yes.
It has to be a political. Just recently, that report is in Parliament. It was all about political powers.
Yeah, the article.
Don't you all agree that we need a political, approach?
Obviously, we need a political approach to this.
Yeah,
it's actually a political problem,
that country.
so that you stabilize a country.
Yes.
And then you need to sort out the political issues before you bring the peacekeeping teams.
Yes. So perhaps, Mheshimiwa Abraham, this decision for the Prime Minister to resign must have been a chain of consultations, and now this is just but a step towards the right direction.
Yes, Victor. You see, by the time that a Prime Minister is not allowed to land in his own country, that means there is a bigger problem than just bringing peace. Haiti, when you talk of gangs, these are not ordinary gangs. That
last week, 40,000 inmates broke from jail. 40,000 of them.
40,000. So these are not just your regular gangs in Nairobi, in the streets of, that we say send police to deal with these gangs. These are political people who are trying to seek their independence. We call them gangs, we might call them whatever we do, but there has to be a solution. And it has to be a political solution. And I'm glad now that the government is stepping back a little bit, and I think it's the right thing to do, so that we can now reevaluate and look at the Haiti in general. What does Haiti really need? Do they need really the police officers? Do they need a peacekeeping force? Or do we really need to come up with a way to stabilize this country by having an election which is free and fair, and have now maybe the US and many other international organizations come in and now monitor, so that now they will feel like this is our government. Now, when they have their own government, they will want peace. There is nobody in this world who doesn't want peace. Everybody wants peace. Haitians, they want peace. And so it is a very unique country in a very unique situation. So we need to look at it, all of us, before we enter, so that we don't take sides. Because it's very easy to go into a country and take sides and say, hey, the gangs are on the wrong, and those people who are in government are on the right. But chances are there has to be a problem. And we have to accept there is a problem in Haiti. And then now, how do we stabilize the country? Then at that point, do they need, because the total number of soldiers or police officers in Haiti is 9,000. Yes. 9,000 police officers in the whole country. And of course, they are being overwhelmed. The gangs are in thousands. It's way beyond police officers. They have bigger weapons than police officers. And that is why it is impossible and it's so hard, even for these 9,000 police officers, to restore peace and order in the country. So it is not just rushing in. And I really like the way the government has handled it now. And they say, let's sit back and look at it and say, okay, how do we help this country? Kenya was not going to only go there by itself. They were going to go together with other countries. It was only that the leader was going to be Kenya. It volunteered that we are going to lead this peace mission, but at the same time, the rest of the countries were going to join us. So my suggestion and my opinion is that government to look into it, sit down, and then reevaluate the whole situation. And if it's a political solution that we need to give them, we come up with a political solution. And I'm pretty sure the president is going to consult with several other leaders in the region and also international leaders, so that when we move in with a solution that's going to help Haiti.
You know, the big question is, who is supplying firearms to these people? Because they're armed to the teeth, almost dusk to dawn. They're armed. Mheshimiwa Maungo, at the end of the day, I'm still asking this question. So what are you going to gain or lose as a country? I mean, Kenya, I don't know whether to call it that why are we getting that a lot of attention? The other day when West Africa was on fire, the soldiers were sent and then are back. We've been in Somalia for the longest time, almost over 10, 13 years now. South Sudan, we've also sent our soldiers there. So what's so special with Kenya? What are you going to gain or lose going to Haiti?
Thank you. Maybe looking at our history, Kenya has been known to be a peacemaker in the region. And just as you've rightly put it, that we have been involved, our soldiers and our men have been involved in peacekeeping missions across our region.
Yes.
And Kenya has therefore been known to be a country that moves in to kind of bring peace and order because of how we've behaved in the past. But Kenya as a country, we are gifted differently. You know, we've had our own share of problems. But every other time we have challenges, I think we've always sat down around the table and agreed, including the very recent one when we had Mandamano and what have you. Now, yesterday or the other day, we find NADCO report was tabled as a result of having that. So Kenya is gifted differently. Haiti is on the other extreme. Because you may wonder, because these guys are having sophisticated weapons. These gangs seem to have clearly organized systems that are working. Because to bring down a government is not easy. You need to really be well coordinated.
That is like a clear coup.
It's a clear coup.
Yes.
You know, it's some kind of a force, because the way this ammunition is supplied, who supplies this ammunition? How does it reach these people? You know, there's an order, there's a command that these guys have. And therefore, what's happening in Haiti, it may not be just anarchy, but it is a political problem. And Mheshimiwa Daktari said here that those guys should now sit and decide among themselves now who is the president, so that there's peace. But I believe that it is a political problem. And I love the fact that the Council of the Caribbean Nations sat down and had to implore upon the Prime Minister to maybe step down and so that there can be peace. Because we need to see some semblance of peace in Haiti. And the first thing is when, the council sat down and agreed that, man, you have to step down if there's going to be peace.
Yeah.
And I believe by stepping down, then these gangs will, maybe they were so agitated, maybe they'll also scale down their anger and be able to sit around the table and discuss. Now, you've asked me one question, what are we supposed to gain? Well, had that mission been successful, maybe Kenya would have gotten extra accolades for being a country that moves in to bring peace when there's disunity, or kind of bring some kind of order, because we've participated in Somalia. During those times of Mzee Moi, you remember...
These are the KDF, police officers.
You see, we've been using the soldiers, the KDF,
yes,
who have good reputation. But our soldiers don't have that experience. Juzi even handling Maandamano was a nightmare for them, honestly speaking. You remember what happened during Maandamano, and our boys are not that armed, or that, they're not like the Haitians. But you find that our soldiers got it really tough. Making that soldier run the whole day, a guy from Kibera will really make him run for his money. So you're not taking this kid, this soldier, to a country like Haiti, where these guys, they even seem to have some super training on how to use their ammunitions and how to do their things. So for me, I want to differ with my colleagues that it was a wrong thing to send our people there.
Yeah.
I still want to maintain that, but it was wrong. But thanks to it, as Mheshimiwa says, that it's a blessing in disguise that now our sons will be back here. Let's watch from far and see how it's going to happen. Because on the other side, what we could have lost, we could have lost our sons through that kind of an arrangement, because it was not safe for them at all, at all.
All right.
I saw, the other issue is that there's a serious outbreak of cholera.
Where?
In Haiti. If you read what was happening, there's a serious outbreak of cholera in that country. So here you are faced with a scourge or an outbreak of a disease that is claiming thousands, right? On the other side now, you also have free roaming people with serious ammunition that what we are carrying. So it was going to be seriously bad for people. So for me, I celebrate that we are not there, though I will also want to have peace in Haiti, because peace in Haiti will also be peace for the world.
Yeah.
I think the participation of Kenya in international peace enforcement and programs is not a new thing. And we have one of the strongest capacities to do so. And we've delivered. Part of our human responsibility is to cultivate and promote global peace. It's a duty to do it. And Kenya leading a multinational forces to Haiti is a responsibility to humanity. And we should look at it from that angle. And we've demonstrated as that we can be a strong democratic country, we can cultivate peace, and we can deliver peace in other regions of the world where it is required. But of course, looking deeply at the Haiti challenge is more political. And are there other players who have other interest within Haiti? And that is why it's complicated to get things done. Why is a president who is popularly elected killed? Why is a prime minister who is popularly elected blocked from entering the country? That's a question of democracy, where you allow democracy to thrive and people to be truly free.
All right.
Their infrastructure will protect their leaders.
Okay.
And
let me
so
take a break.
I still believe Haiti question must be looked at more energetically and vigorously. And we've seen the Council of the Leadership of Haiti trying to provide Caribbean solutions. Those are things that we need to consider and integrate with what the UN is providing. And if still there is an opportunity that multinational forces will deliver in Haiti,
I need to serve you tea.
That should be allowed.
I know what makes you to stop. I know what will make you stop. I need to serve you tea.
Give me tea.
Stay with us. I want to... there is that amendment already by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly that the position of CIS is necessary.
The members of parliament are here.
You know what I'm talking about.
The members of parliament are here. I'm conflicted because
when you come back,
I will be affected by the same.
You've been struggling for long. You must be happy.
Well,
let's take a break.
The country should be happy. The country should
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Sile wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
In the pursuit of greatness, WRC Safari Rally traverses Kenyan terrain through 5 stages. A path with diverse challenges that test the cars and the drivers. Strength, resilience, toughness, gusto, speed, and willpower against all odds. We launch with the Kasarani Super Special on Thursday, cruise through Elementaita on Saturday, and beeline to Hell's Gate on Sunday, where the winner will be crowned. Keep up with the daily news, highlights, and competitors' interviews as we race to the top. This Easter on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
All right, welcome back. With this gentleman here on set, we are tackling matters national concern. I'll come back to that later on. Let me ask a question based on what's happening, and let's come back to the NADCO report as we come to a close of this one. Mheshimiwa Maungu, you've been part of this process as a member of Azimio. So the report is Parliament finally. It was handed over to President, and Raila Odinga also have a copy. What do you make of it finally, now that we are here?
Thank you. Well, to a large extent, I'll say that the report is okay, and it's a good beginning.
Yes.
Because NADCO was a result of a series of demonstrations here and there that came as a result of the last elections. one of the great achievements we've had in NADCO is that the presidential elections of 2022 will be audited. That's a key milestone. Let's see what really happened. Secondly, we are entrenching the national government CDF, so that now it is part of, or it's constitutional, because as you may realize, the courts are declared unconstitutional previously. The other issue is that we now are having the office of the official leader of opposition, which will be funded by the state.
Yes.
Because previously, after, like in the last election, the difference was about 100,000 or so. But this guy is left in the cold. But now we are saying the taxpayer will take care of that office, and this guy will be supposed to oversight government. So to a large extent, I'll say that it's a good beginning, and I hope if well implemented, then it should be able to seal the loopholes that have existed, and hopefully that the coming elections of 2027 will be working on the same parameters to ensure that we don't go back into what happened recently. So to me, NADCO is a game changer, and I want to use this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for having sat around the table and solved their issues. Because I believe out of that now, maybe going forward, some of the gaps we had, this bill is before us, and I believe pieces of legislation are coming before us to ensure that we enact laws which will be able to seal those loopholes that existed.
And do you believe it should be enacted the way it is?
Well, the committee has proposed in Parliament, and as you know, Parliament is a house of rules and creating laws. So I believe members will articulate themselves and be able to see gaps that exist in that and improve on that. But it's a good framework from where I sit.
Mheshimiwa Abraham.
Victor, I think I applaud the team that really negotiated this NADCO report. At the end of the day, the NADCO report was really to stabilize the country. You know, when there was demonstration on the streets, putting on of, sufurias on the head and many other things, it was not a good image, or it was not good for this country. So this report was unanimously adopted by both houses, the Senate and also our Parliament. And as such, that means moving forward, it looks like both sides have agreed on most of the things, including now the position of leader of the opposition, position of the Prime Minister, audit of the 2022 election, and many other things that they've agreed in there. I truly want to applaud President William Ruto for reaching out to the opposition leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, because the two leaders kind of agreed that the country is bigger than the two of us. And as such, Azimio and also Kenya Kwanza, if they agree, that means really the rest of us, members of parliament from Azimio, members of parliament from Kenya Kwanza, will have to, because the leadership have agreed. And as such, unless there will be some major contentions moving forward, which I don't see, I think this report will be implemented. I think there will be teams of 3 who are going to sit down, review, and then there will be another team of 6 as well who are going to come in and then finalize it. But as we move forward as a nation, I think there are some things that we have to agree that after every election, we should not be here. Because, Victor, if you look at really why we are here, it's because of disputed elections. And as such, as a country that has matured over 60 years independent, we should really not be just, having a report like NADCO. NADCO is just, it's a negotiation dog. But if it's a democratic nation, which is Kenya, is a democratic nation, after an election, we should be able to agree and say, yes, the winner has won. Let's move on. Peace to be stabilized in the country, and we move forward. So I want to applaud the two leaders who have agreed that let's sit down and agree, and they have agreed. They gave people from both sides. They came up with this report. It came to Parliament. Now it's moving forward to be implemented. I think it's good for the country. It's good for all of us, and good for the region.
Mheshimiwa Kali, at the end of the day, Wiper leader was co-chair there.
Yes, sure.
Right.
Let me say this. The NADCO report is not 100% perfect. In that it didn't capture much to do with cost of living. But I supported it because of 2 reasons. One reason, it is a negotiated report where there was a lot of give and take. And the fact that that was negotiated, it means that then both sides of the divide, political divide, have serious input into it, and they have arrived at a consensus. So on that fact, I support it. The second reason why I support it is the whole process stabilized the country. That we moved from the streets, went back to offices, started working, and business people got back to their businesses and started working so that we develop our country. So on those two grounds, I support the report, and I still believe that whatever has been captured there, we might need to support it the way it is to avoid getting back to a situation where we have conflict again. There are some areas where we would have wanted more improvements, but as I said, there's give and take. So since our team started to agree on that, I think it's important we all support it. But the issue, the fact that they didn't address cost of living, we can't say it's a perfect report.
So out of it, because the cost of living was not addressed, it's not 100%. Mheshimiwa Sosion, at the end of the day, it's in the hands of the two gentlemen. So either way, the three gentlemen in Parliament will have to work on it.
You know, the NADCO report, we've discussed these matters all through.
Yes.
Now, finally, we shall have a prime minister. Finally, we shall have a prime minister. We shall have a leader of opposition.
Yes.
And we will have a more organized country post any election, unlike what we have now. The gaps of our Constitution 2010, which excludes a big majority of Kenyans from participating in leadership. But with the creation of the office of the Prime Minister, leader of the opposition and Prime Minister, it widens the scope. We must run Kenya in an inclusive manner. And I think that is what the President is so committed about, that we need everybody on board to move the country. There will be those who will be in government. There will be those who will be in opposition after any election. And I think this is a format for posterity. It is not a format to satisfy Azimio or to satisfy Kenya Kwanza. It's for posterity, that we have a political structure that is inclusive, so that when we get into any general election, once we come out of the general election, the losers will have their space. The winners will run the government. And I think that is the philosophy. And key urgent issues that needs legislative enactment within given timelines, like that of the Prime Minister, creation of the office of the official leader of the opposition, entrenching the two-third gender rule. We don't need to be talking about it. We need to implement it, and that can be legislation and reorganizing IEBC. Let us have an IEBC that everybody is confident about. When you lose, you know you have lost. When you win, you know the winner is so and so. And elections where we believe are transparent, and we have done it as Kenya. These struggles that we have had have made Kenya one of the best democracies in the world. That's a fact. We all agree. We can sit around this table and discuss about Kenya without fighting. We can share a cup of tea. How sweet was it to see President William Ruto and Raila Odinga holding sticks together with Museveni looking after cows? It's a beautiful thing. People are happy about it. Politics is not about enmity. Politics is about ideological competition. And sometimes you must meet each other midway. Meet each other midway and move on. Because we need to develop the country. What is so urgent is stability, political stability of the country, political assurance of the country, and of course, working on the economy. The cost of living is the economy. Once the country is politically orderly, then people will have peace to work. We can implement any program that we want. The Kenya Kwanza manifesto and other ideas from other groups can also be mainstream, and we build a country.
Perfect. As we wind up, I want to ask you this question. It's been 8 months now. The court said that the position of CAS is unconstitutional. You've been calling yourself CAS ever since.
Of course, I'm still Gazette. The Gazette notice has not been revoked, and the matter is under
what did you foresee that we didn't see?
And no, there's nothing that I didn't see. I saw it all. We saw it all, and we contested those.
And now the Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs are now making some amendments.
Now that there is an act in Parliament being legislated to cure the questions that were raised by the court, I think is a good thing. So for us, let's wait for Parliament to dispense of that legislative process, the product of it. will guide the next level. Yeah, it will guide the next level of administrative action by the executive. That is beyond us.
Yes.
So we are not campaigning for anything. Any government position, you are appointed at the pleasure of the president.
Yes.
To do some work. That is it. These are not political officers. They are appointive positions, and the president can appoint you and assign you duties anyway. So be it. But for the good of the country, Parliament is agreeing that that cadre of leadership is required for efficient running of the ministries.
Yes.
And delivery of services to the people of Kenya.
All right, Mr. Sen, you've been calling yourself CS for...
Of course I am. That's my title for now, until otherwise decided by the,
okay.
And those of us, those of us who were sworn in as CSs, effectively, until that act determines the next level. Once the act comes into force, we might have more CSs numbering to 100 or less.
Talk to them, it's in their hands now.
Maybe he needs to confirm.
Yes?
He needs to confirm if he has been receiving some salary from the treasury.
Is he here?
I've not been paid.
On account of that.
No. The court order is very clear. We are not supposed to be paid, and that has been enforced.
You can only claim the title.
Nothing more. I'm supposed to ask you.
We are only carrying the titles and
the titles. So you've not been earning your salary?
No, we are not earning salaries. That's a fact.
You can't.
The court order was very clear. And you see, the president respects the rule of law. Right. And the questions that were raised by the court, and for many judgments that have been ruled against government, the president has moved in to cure them through legislative process, and that is compliance with the rule of law. Right. And so even with this one of CSS, the National Government Coordination Amendment Bill is trying to cure the questions that were raised by the court, because we must also respect the rule of law.
Do you have NCGF in your constituencies? Bursaries?
Yeah, we got some additional money, 40 million. Although
so Metulia, Mosop
I don't get because the bill is...
Rwanda is okay?
You know, the total amount was about...
The amount is small.
150 million. So you have only received about 7, it's not even half of the amount. And actually that money is not even enough to pay for bursaries, because our push was for bursaries.
Yes.
So we hope now we'll get the rest of the money to do development. The other thing which they have been doing is they will release the money to their accounts, but then delay the most important document called the AIE, Authority to Incur Expenditure. Without that document, you can't spend the money.
So how are you surviving in your respective constituencies? I mean,
it is hard.
It's very difficult. We have just been surviving. I seek and hide game with the parents at times.
You can't even go to Mosop.
Yes, at this time, most of the students are back to school, and most of them are looking for the bursaries.
Yes.
And without the bursaries, most of the families are really from low income families, and they depend on these bursaries. And the government has tried, because we know the economic situation we are in as a country, and I think the government has really tried, and they've dispersed almost half of what we expect. Most of it is going to go, of course, to bursaries. The other one is going to come to development. And as such, I think even us as members of parliament, they explained to us, we understood, and we are explaining to also our constituents that let's be patient. And I know it might not be the best thing to tell a parent who actually the student has been sent home, and they are saying, what you're telling, be patient a little bit. Once we get this money dispersed, we'll be able to release the bursaries. But we've talked also to secondary schools ed teachers to make sure that they work with the parents, because if they tell you that I've received the bursary, it's not been dispersed, but it's coming, they should be able to agree that yes, you can continue with your learning. Once the money comes, we'll be able to, So it takes all of us, us as members of parliament, the parents and the students. But at the same time, we are also urging the government to expedite the release of these funds.
Mheshimiwa, you're also playing hide and seek in Luanda constituency.
We are one and the same when it comes to that, because, but fortunately, with the little that we have, we can at least be able to disburse bursaries, which was the biggest challenge that we had. Because we are only 3 months shy of the end of the financial year. And we have received less than 50% of the actually about 40% of the allocation. So you find that infrastructure-wise, we shall lag behind.
Yeah.
But at least with what we have been able to receive, we may be able to send kids back to school, because that was our greatest challenge. Because as Mheshimiwa says, you have to play hide and seek to ensure that you are there, you're not there, just to ensure that you manage the situation.
Yeah.
But I've seen a number of colleagues have been launching this. I'll personally be giving out mine maybe next week to ensure that at least kids are back to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, continue doing what you're doing to the residents of this country. You're doing a good job. And thank you so much for coming to the show. Mheshimiwa Sossion, all the best.
Thank you.
You know what I'm talking about. Thank you so much.
Talk to them.
Don't forget us in your kingdom.
No, ours is to serve the country.
Absolutely.
When given that opportunity.
Former Nassau and Member of Parliament, of course, he called himself CS. That will come to pass, inshallah. Mheshimiwa Dick Maungo, thank you so much for coming and representing the great people of Luanda constituency, Mosop represented by Abraham Kirwa, as well as Kitui Central, Makali. Asante sana, gentlemen, for coming to the show. All right, let's cross over to the other side of GMK after this break. Please stay with us. Good morning. I'm Victor Lo.
KBC Channel 1 imeandaa vipindi spesheli katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan mwaka huu kwa ajili yako.
Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kando na ukumbi wa Kiislamu na hutuba ya Ijumaa, kutakuwa na makala yanayoangazia maswala ya funga, mawaidha,
whosoever witnesses the month of Ramadan, then he should fast.
Vipindi vya mapishi.
Katika mapishi ya Ramadhani tutatayarisha pilau ya korosho. Utahitaji viazi, vitunguu vinne vikubwa, na zabibu
na kaswida mbalimbali. Ramadan kana. Pia tumekuandalia kalenda ya Ramadhan ili kukuweka kwenye mstari wa mbele katika funga yako. Tazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1 katika mwezi huu mtukufu wa Ramadhan ili kukuza na kuhifadhi imani yako.
So my name is Lisa Christopherson. I am competing as a driver in this year's Talenta Hela all-ladies rally team. And it's very, very exciting. My name is Lisa. And if you don't know what that stands for, it stands for Life is So Amazing. Yeah? So also remember the song, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Everything you do in life should make you stronger. Gain that experience that takes you to another level. I always believe life is like a book that has many chapters. And this is one of the chapters that we are experiencing. So follow me on my Instagram, Lisa_Christopherson, and you can be part of my journey. I would like you to follow me on this journey and watch me live on KBC, guys. Tutaonana.
I joined Migosi in 2016. That's when I realized that we had vulnerable children here. So we thought of, 1, selling out our school, 2, bringing out the talent in the learners. 3, I found when drama was going on in Migosi, so I decided to keep on with it. So when I came to Migosi, actually I poached the trainer, Orwell.
And you know, she gave me really clear instructions that if you come before I leave this school, then I have to win drama. And if I still be in this school, then I have to win music. I was like, does she really know what winning means? You know, it's a lot of work. But then I said, for the child, I have to come around.
We went up the nationals with the cultural creative dance. We emerged position 1 overall. We came back with 4 trophies. One thing like drama, it motivates, it builds confidence, it makes us go places. We were able to swim in Mombasa with the children. We were able to greet the CS. And one of our best girls who was singing here in class 8, she's emerged one of the best again. So music and drama is not a waste. And with CBC, I think we are on the right track. I used to have it very rough with some of my teachers and even the parents because they were against it. They felt that it is a waste.
I didn't realize she's talented. I'll encourage my fellow parents to motivate their kids. They want to know where this singing will take their girls or boys.
Let's allow the children do what they love most. Be it music, be it drama, be it athletics, and the rest. You know, some people retire and they walk wakijificha. But me, I walk with my head very high in town. And Migosi is the school, by the way. Which other school? It is Migosi.
Welcome back to The Viewpoint on Good Morning Kenya here on KBC Channel 1. My name is Mike Migwi, and right now we shift gears and talk about cyber security, enhancing cyber security within the country. And in studio, I'm joined by Dr. Vincent Gundi, who is the Acting Director at Cyber Security Communication Authority of Kenya. Karibu sana to the studio.
Thank you, Mike.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yes.
Now, let's get into it. I was going through the report yesterday, and I saw something that piqued my interest. There's a very sharp rise in cyber security threats.
Yeah.
We are talking about 1.2 billion that were detected between October and December. Where is that emanating from?
First, thank you again for hosting us.
Yes.
On such a topical issue. Cybersecurity is a concern for society. And it's also a national economic issue. And therefore, having this platform to share what we are doing as a country and also creating awareness is important to us.
Yes.
But just to go to your question, the rise in cyber threat is global in nature. It's actually not just about Kenya.
Yes.
But obviously, with the pronouncement by the government, led by our president, that Kenya is taking a deliberate effort to deploy technology so that you can reach many more Kenyans, both within and outside our borders, has significantly caused a lot of interest in terms of our cyberspace.
Yes.
The fact that we have over 14,000 public services now available online, on one hand, is a great benefit to the country because it enhances access to public services.
Yes, yes.
But at the same time, criminals are listening.
Of course.
And they are saying that, okay, now we have more valuable digital assets, more valuable things to pick from cyberspace.
Yes.
And I think that's why you're seeing an increase, exponential increase for that matter, in the number of threats that are targeting our country.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are talking about cyber threats, and some of the attacks associated with malware, brute force. Maybe elaborate more on that.
Okay.
Yes.
So there are a number of vectors that cyber criminals use to attack systems.
Yeah.
So malware is one of them, which is, malware is really just malicious software designed to do bad things, for lack of a better word, on online systems. Brute force is a concerted attempt to access a system. I'll give you an example of a door, and you have a bunch of keys.
Yes.
You'll keep trying each one of the keys until you get the right one. So that's what a brute force attack is.
Yes.
It's combining, using multiple usernames and a combination of multiple username and password to try and guess the credentials for a system and therefore access it. Of course, the system vulnerabilities are the oldest, actually, methodology that hackers have used. If you look at the first, or arguably the first virus, it was the Morris worm. It was called the Morris worm in 1988. And what it did is that it just exploited weaknesses in a system. It could be that, for example, an operating system is not up to date. It could be that your mobile phone software is not up to date.
Yeah.
Why you see vendors sending you updates, even on your mobile phone, on your computer, is to patch up vulnerabilities that they have identified. And therefore, since these vulnerabilities are known to hackers, especially before you update systems, then hackers can use that to infiltrate systems.
Yes.
But the biggest threat, I think, is the human element.
Yeah.
Because even with the right technology, with the right security, a compromised human being can use genuine credentials to gain access to a system.
That's not the aspect of social engineering.
Social engineering. Social engineering is two-pronged. Social engineering is trying to influence another person to divulge sensitive information. It could be login credentials, like a username and password, or it could be a PIN. For example, if you're looking at a mobile banking system.
Yes.
That's a social engineering element.
Yes.
But there's also the element of, fraud, for lack of a better word, actual fraud, where somebody with the right credentials and authority does malicious damage to a system intentionally. So there's also that element.
Yes.
So there are a number of ways that hackers will use to infiltrate systems. It depends on what kind of system, what the motivation of the attacker is, and so on and so forth. Recently, we also saw the attack on eCitizen. That was a DDoS attack. It's called a denial of service attack. And the whole essence is to send a large amount of traffic towards a system so that it can't function.
Yeah.
So it's just flooding. It's like flooding a pipe with information until it passes. So that.
And that is true because there was a time when students were complaining, especially the ones that were applying for KUCCPS placements.
Yeah.
They were complaining about delays in systems, especially on eCitizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it happens. eCitizen actually brings together various platforms.
Yes.
It is like a consolidation of all platforms into one space so that it eases access for the public.
Yes.
And therefore, eCitizen is made up of multiple systems that have just been integrated into one.
Yes.
So it could happen that it's not the entire eCitizen that is down. It could be just one of the services that is down. And it could be for various reasons. It could be a system issue where a system is overwhelmed. So, for example, everybody is keen and eager to register for university placement.
Exactly.
So there's bound to be an exponential increase in traffic at that point in time, which could end up to genuinely overwhelming the system. And so there are various ways of looking at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, were there between the period mentioned in the report, between October and December, what are some of the industries that were hard hit by these threats?
I think we saw an exponential increase in attacks on ICT systems.
Yes.
Government systems as well, obviously. There was some attack on that.
Yeah.
But when you talk about ICT systems, remember you're talking about all systems, because all systems are really ICT systems.
Yeah.
But we saw attacks on mainly the telecom sector, the ISP sector, the internet service provider sector, but we also saw some attacks on the financial sector as well. Yeah.
And now, when we talk about cybersecurity, there's also the aspect of cloud security. How does it differ from the traditional cyber threats?
Remember, cloud services are an application like any other. It's only that they are hosted in data centers that could, be spread across the world to ensure that the systems are available as much as possible. So a cloud system is really just a system that instead of hosting it in a data center, for example, within an organization, it's actually hosted in a centralized platform that can be accessed by many people. Yes. And therefore, post-COVID, we're also seeing an increase in the use of cloud services. Remember, COVID confined us to our homes. Exactly. And therefore, and the world had to go on. And therefore, what many organizations, what many businesses did is to start deliberately adopting cloud services, because these are services that will enable you to access whatever services you have from wherever you are in a secure manner, because security for cloud services is really like very key for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the National Kenya Computer Incident Response Team give recommendations.
Yes.
What are these recommendations, and how are they effective in terms of dealing with cyber threats within the country?
So we give various recommendations depending on what we see. Remember, one of our responsibilities at the National SAT is to monitor the threats that are targeted at our country. Now, the kind of threats, the severity of the threats, the number of threats in terms of impact vary from time to time, because various issues can lead to certain aspects of cyber criminal activity being more pronounced. In the last quarter, that is October to December last year, the most significant threats that we saw were based on system vulnerabilities. And from our assessment, what we realized is that on one hand, there is obviously, as I said, there is a lot of interest in Kenya cyberspace because of the deliberate effort that we as a country and most of government is putting in place. Yes. Remember also the private sector is investing heavily. We are seeing banks investing in online platforms, mobile platforms. We are seeing insurance companies automating their business processes. Exactly. Academia is taking suit. We just opened an Open University Kenya, which means that university offers their courses predominantly through technology or through cyberspace for that matter. So it's all sectors, the energy sector, the transport sector. We are seeing a lot of investment in technology. But what was curious is that majority of the attacks that we saw were based on system vulnerabilities. And what you're saying is that attackers are perhaps realizing that just like anywhere in the world, there are a lot of systems that are vulnerable. And at the same time, there's also a lot of effort by government to also secure systems from other perspectives. And so what looks attractive to cyber criminals now is vulnerabilities that are inherent in systems. This could be operating system vulnerabilities. And it could be simply because somebody somewhere did not update an operating system. It could be database data vulnerabilities, which are equally extreme, because databases hold data. Yes. And data is what drives, the applications. So if you have database vulnerabilities, then you're bound to lose information, and if you leave yourself exposed. So we felt that obviously there's also the element of Internet of Things. We are seeing a proliferation in the deployment of Internet of Things, and Internet of Things are inherently vulnerable because it's difficult to, it's challenging to secure them. And since there is a lot of proliferation, including CCTV cameras, the deployment of IoT devices in agriculture, for example, in the transport system, they are leading to increasing the threat landscape, so that now cyber criminals can exploit such vulnerabilities to get into systems. And that is what we saw for the last quarter. Yes, and that is due to the interconnectedness of these of the Internet of Things. Absolutely, because they are part of the Internet now. Yes. Yeah. Now, talk about how the alignment of global cyber threats and maybe country-specific threats like Kenya. How do they speak to the universal cybersecurity threats? Actually, if you look at our report, we usually do an analysis on what we see as compared to what's happening around the world. And I can tell you that the similarities are there. So for example, malware is a global issue. There's a US-led initiative called the Counter Ransomware Initiative. And the purpose of that initiative is to bring together countries to share information around ransomware in terms of the kind of ransomware attacks that we're seeing, but also at the same time building capacity and sharing experiences among countries on how to counter ransomware, including responding and resolving ransomware attacks. Yes. So ransomware has become a very big issue globally, and that's why you're seeing that kind of attention. The need to ensure that, because also the impact of ransomware is also huge. Most ransomware will come, encrypt your data. Yes. So essentially somebody who was functioning, serving millions of people 1 minute is unable to do that the next minute. Yes. And so ransomware is one thing that cuts across the world in terms of some of the similarities that we see when we compare with other jurisdictions. Obviously, system vulnerabilities are a global issue. As I said, the first virus in the world, well, arguably, was actually through exploitation of system vulnerabilities. So that also becomes a very big issue. Social engineering, as simple as it may seem, actually most attacks are initiated through a social engineering attack, where somebody calls and says, I'm so-and-so and this, give me this information, and then they use it to exploit a system. And there are many ways of actualizing that. But I think for me, the biggest challenge is the human element. The weakest link in cybersecurity is a human being, because the human being is intellectual and they can be deliberate in what they want to do. And so if you ask me, what are some of the things that we need to focus on? And I think we'll get to that at some point. But it's really dealing with the human element. Because remember, the human element or the human being is the same person who's supposed to update systems so that they're not vulnerable. It's the same person who is supposed to make sure that they train their consumers so that they enable them, empower them to ensure that they use systems in a responsible and ethical way. So I think globally we're also seeing that concern in terms of the human element being the biggest the weakest link.
Somebody here is asking, what is the role of artificial intelligence and deep fake technology in maintenance of data integrity and authenticity?
So artificial intelligence is one of the greatest technologies of our time. I think artificial intelligence is going to be applied broadly by society for many reasons, because the capabilities are out of this world. But artificial intelligence also brings sophistications in terms of security. On one hand, having artificial intelligence driven by machine learning and quantum computing, highly powerful computers that can crunch, loads and loads of data, can also lead to the infiltration of systems, of cybersecurity systems. So AI as a technology is transformative in terms of societal and economic change and transformation, but it also presents security challenges, because one of the biggest concerns from a cybersecurity perspective is the issues of use of AI to break encryption. Because how we secure data when it's being transmitted online is by encrypting it. So that it's not readable by somebody who doesn't need access. But we are seeing computing technologies having the capability to break those encryptions, which means that you can use AI and quantum computing to break encryption, which is actually a risk for the world. And there's a lot of work going towards how do we secure our system post artificial intelligence, post-quantum computing. Once you have these powerful machines, how do we ensure that these powerful machines are not used to break the encryption that protects the internet and technologies for that matter? So there's a lot of work going on post-quantum security. How do we deal with post-quantum cryptography? What are some of the technologies that we can use to ensure that we maintain the security and integrity of our systems moving forward?
And also the issue of a deepfake. Sometime back, I think it was either last year or the starting of this year, there was an incident in South Africa where some journalists people used deepfake technology to fake something, but used journalists. But it took a team of very experienced people to identify these ones as deep fakes. So I think there is also the aspect of awareness in terms of letting people know the threats of cybersecurity. Yeah. So what is the role of education and awareness in all these aspects?
It's critical.
Yes.
Awareness is very important. And on one hand, and I'll give you an example, even beyond just deep fakes.
Yes.
Whenever you're transacting online, it's good to do a verification of sorts. Just a verification of sorts. And there are many ways of doing it.
Yes.
One is, can you do a background? For example, if you're doing a financial transaction,
yes,
or if you're sharing sensitive data, can you first have an assessment of whether the platform that you're using is indeed the platform that you're supposed to be using?
Exactly.
And I think at times people get excited when it comes to using online technologies and they forget the issue of verification. Because impersonation online is real.
Yes.
If there's a valuable digital asset or platform online, then there must be somebody out there who wants to impersonate that technology. Deepfakes, again, a little bit more sophisticated because they look real, even for the most experienced person. And I can tell you, even the best of us have been victims of deepfakes because they are as real as it can be.
Yes.
But I think the issue of being cautious online as you transact, for me, I think is significant. Ensuring that users take responsibility and they just put that effort to make sure that when you're transacting online, when you see a video, you need to find ways of, is it really what it says?
Authenticating.
What is the source, for example? If it's news that is being shared by KBC, for example, I would be very happy to refer to a video or content that is on the KBC platform.
Yes.
Knowing that KBC can also be compromised, but at the very least, I know that if I see information on Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, then it's bound to be authentic. It's credible. Because it's credible. Because this is a media house, a national public broadcasting station. You have rules, regulations, you're governed by law. So if you're putting something online, then it must be credible and authentic, or at least credible. So we need to make that effort. If we are referencing, even in academia, when you're referencing and you're picking, scholarly work, are you going to just go to any website, or you try and look at credible places, perhaps universities or research institutions that can lay credence to the kind of information that you're borrowing? So awareness is significant. I think for me it's paramount that we keep informing our people and across the demographics, from children, parents, teachers, the working class, the non-working class, the business people, everybody, the elderly, everybody needs to be informed. If you look at mobile money, for example, it's being used across all demographics. Anybody who is over 18 years of age is most likely using some mobile money platform one way or another. What are some of the things that you are seeing? Fraud. Because somebody told you they're a mobile operator, they're upgrading their system, share your PIN.
And especially, the elder.
And the next thing, your money is gone. I just saw a case, I was just listening to the news as I was coming, and just recently, I think it must be a few days ago, some tenants were defrauded. Or rather, the landlord was defrauded because their agent decided to tell tenants that don't send money to this through this pay bill, use this other one. Now, this agent is obviously a trusted person,
I almost
intermediary.
To that.
You can imagine. So awareness becomes important. Why not verify with the person you signed the contract with? Have you changed your pay bill? Or will you take it as, so it's not always straightforward. But I'm just saying that deliberate effort to confirm, especially when there is value tied to a transaction, then becomes paramount, so that you don't, we minimize. So people lost money because they sent money to the wrong pay bill number. Tuma kwa hii namba, usitume kwa ile ingine. I mean, we've all seen those messages. The teachers told me I need some textbook, but send him money through this number. You've seen those messages allegedly from students to their parents, telling them to send money. So it's not also the sophistication of the issue. It is actually the impact. Because you can imagine, if that message is sent to thousands and thousands of people, there are people who are bound to send money. And I can tell you, since you see it happening over and over again, then it means that actually people do send money when they get such messages. So awareness is paramount.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for gracing our show.
Thank you.
This has been a very eye-opening session, and I hope in future we'll have more talk about this issue of enhancing cybersecurity.
Yes.
We have been talking to one Dr. Vincent Ngudi, who is the Director of Cybersecurity at Communication Authority of Kenya. This has been Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migu, and on behalf of my colleagues Vivian and Victor Olo, have a good morning and enjoy the rest of your viewing.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Zile wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
It is a beautiful day, my people.
Does she look like? Is she hot and smart upstairs?
Let me tell you guys, some of you here will not see the gates of heaven. I'm telling you the truth.
When all of you are this is low.
Hey, umeanza kuvuka mipaka sasa? The guy of the day is a Bepe.
It's Mbaya. It's not power, Tinash. It's not power.
It's not a poor idea yet. This is your big day.
Where is the backup plan? Where is my backup plan?
All the plan that I need is right here. This beautiful, soft face.
KBC Channel 1 imeandaa vipindi spesheli katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan mwaka huu kwa ajili yako.
Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kando na ukumbi wa Kiislamu na hutuba ya Ijumaa, kutakuwa na makala yanayoangazia maswala ya funga, mawaidha,
Whosoever witnesses the month of Ramadan, then he should fast.
vipindi vya mapishi.
Katika mapishi ya Ramadhani tutatayarisha pilau ya korosho. Utahitaji viazi, vitunguu vinne vikubwa, na zabibu
na kaswida mbalimbali. Pia tumekuandalia kalenda ya Ramadhan ili kukuweka kwenye mstari wa mbele katika funga yako. Tazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1 katika mwezi huu mtukufu wa Ramadhan ili kukuza na kuhifadhi imani yako.
Well, a very good morning to you, and we are glad that you have